Today is the day you've all been waiting for, so please put your hands together, either literally or in the comments section, and please welcome the voice of Tari from Metarunner, Celeste Notley-Smith, everybody!
Hi, everyone!
Ah, man, thank you again so much for being here tonight, Celeste. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, before I get into some actual questions, since my subscribers may or may not be familiar with Metarunner, if I can please ask you to give a brief description of the character that you play and an impersonation of them, if that's not too much trouble.
Okay. If you don't know what Metarunner is, it's a dystopic, futuristic world where gaming is everything, and it begins with Tari, my character, who wakes up not knowing who she is, but discovers that she has a robotic arm that gives her very, very special abilities. And her special abilities are that she can actually warp into games and play the games from within. So the whole show follows the mystery of where Tari has come from and the big evil corporation Taz Corp and going up against the bad guys. And so my character Tari, if I have to put her voice on, I usually have to furrow my brow a little bit, and I have to kind of raise my pitch up here. And hi everyone, Tari here. It's so nice to meet you all. I don't really know what I'm doing here, but hi.
Yeah. Does anyone know what we're doing these days?
Not here in Sydney. Here in Sydney, it's all lockdown. So
yeah. Restrictions are being lifted somewhere in parts of Canada here, but there's still a little bit of COVID around here. So yeah. But yes. Yeah. My first question for you is, what do you enjoy about the character that you play? Because on your social medias, it says that you just love voicing Tari, but I've just always wondered, what is it about Tari in particular that you love so much?
Good question. Okay, so I really love doing big character pieces. Usually if I'm doing it, I like putting on funny voices. I love doing crazy characters, but this is not what Tari is. Tari's not a crazy big, she's no Theo, she's not that kind of voice. She's a real person. She's a real character, and it's actually really fun to play real, I find. And you don't, especially with voice acting, you have to really go into the extremes, and this character is not extreme. She's a genuine, and I think everyone always talks about the description of Tari as being wholesome, and someone brought it up in a meeting we just had the other day. I was like, yes, that's exactly what it is. She's a wholesome, well-rounded character. She's loving. She's this big sister character to Theo. She's, but she's strong at the same time. She's thrown into a situation that she's able to handle, which I don't think anyone else, lots of people would not be able to handle. So I think that's what I love about her, how wholesome and strong she is.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good analogy, because I think pretty much everyone who's watched Metarunner or SMG4 for that matter can all agree that Tari is too precious for this world. And
the love for Tari is astonishing. Even with SMG4, they adore her because she's people relate to her. She's just a quirky, quiet gamer. That's who she is.
Yeah, that's another thing too. A lot of people feel like they can actually relate to Tari in a sense because, she's not like this big, strong, Mary Sue type character like Rey from Star Wars or Lara Croft or whatever example you want to use. She's just this quirky, wholesome being just trying to figure out what happened to her, how'd she end up in here, and just all that stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. That's exactly, and I think that's why people relate to her. And I think what I really liked about her was how that sort of gawky, awkward, especially in season 1, that really, she just didn't really know what to do and would fail. And she wasn't perfect at what she did, and she tried many, many times and still wasn't perfect, even with her abilities. And I think that's kind of what I love about her. She just doesn't give up. Yeah,
that's definitely a good trait. Okay, my next question for you is, how long have you been a voice actress?
So I kind of started, when did I start? I know I started before I had my children. I've always been an actor, so I do mostly stage work and a lot of singing. And I fell into voice acting because like I said, I've always loved doing big, crazy characters. And I found that with voice acting, you get more opportunity to do that. Maybe not so much in Australia, definitely overseas. And I did a course just to see if if it was something that I enjoyed, and I just loved it so much. I loved the controlling of the breath and making sure that you sit at the right pitch and all these wonderful things. Because I'm also a singing teacher, so all this the technical stuff about it I really enjoyed. And then I just sort of started pursuing like simple things, just doing some commercial work and a couple of gigs for people on, over the internet that I met, and some singing things in there as well. But when this job came along, it's my biggest gig so far, which is fantastic. I love that. It's my sort of swan song into voice acting as well. So when this gig came along, I'd only really had more commercial experience. It's great to be able to do this sort of character.
Yeah, I could imagine it's like that.
Definitely in Australia, it's more commercial work rather than animation work. Hopefully that changes, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. What other films or shows have you actually starred in? I think if my knowledge is correct, you did a lot of like, you said you did a lot of stage plays, and I think you did a little bit of like children's stage play, if my knowledge is correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a poster somewhere. So I was in a children's show called Yellow Cat, where I did voicing puppets. I recorded on their album, and we actually wrote our own musical and staged that as well in Sydney. That kind of died off a little bit once I had my children. I stopped kind of doing that level of work. You just don't have the time for that, and so I sort of pulled back from that. I've also done some. I've worked with two different musical theatre writers in Australia who have just created some new work. So Jai Bryant is one that I work with a lot, and I got to originate one of the roles of his musical, which is now actually it's over in America at the moment somewhere. I have to find out where, but yeah. So I originated one of the roles in his musical as well. So that's mostly where I go to. So it's nice to be able to do some animation work. I think that ties in nicely with musical theatre because it's quite heightened characters. And that's what voice work has to be. It has to be heightened. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. If you had to say what your favorite movie or film or stage play, whatever it was, what would it be?
Okay. Well, if it's musicals, I have a million answers for that.
Yeah.
So I would say that my favorite musical is either Sunday in the Park with George or My Fair Lady. So I like the classics as well. They're my favourites ones. If I'm going for films, I'm a bit of a sci-fi nerd, so I'm all about sci-fi. Although to be honest, if I'm going for it's got to be Lord of the Rings. It's got to be a perfect film, right? Lord of the Rings is perfect.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm gonna put that one. That's my favourite.
Honestly, I'm a bit of a sci-fi nerd too, but some of my favorite movies, namely include like the Star Wars movies, Pacific Rim, definitely Pacific Rim, and of course, I really, really liked Wall-E. That was one of my favorite movies as a kid.
Love it. I love animation, and I'm getting back into animation now. Especially with having young children, I've been watching so much of it. And and now that I've pursued this sort of direction in my career, I sort of really appreciate what I'm watching and listening to now. And I listen to the work that they're doing, and I'm going, oh yes, I can see exactly where they're landing their breaths or where the direction they're taking with their character in a voice aspect. So it's been really cool to kind of see it from that perspective lately.
Yeah, I imagine it would be. Okay, what's your favorite part about being a voice actor for Metarunner?
Well, one thing I've loved being able to work with people from all around the world. And also the fact that I'm able to use my own accent as well. So although it's an international piece of work, it is obviously based in Australia. And the fact that I get to use my accent and put it out in the world to people who don't normally get to hear the Australian accent. And obviously mine is not, I don't have a really ochre Australian, as we call it. So that oi voice that Belle does is very ochre, whereas mine is a bit more, it's a different kind of accent. I call it a drama accent because I'm a drama teacher too.
Yeah.
So that's what I call it. It's just nice to be able to people to hear it because they're going, hang on, is she English? What is that? What is that voice? And so to be able to say, well, here it is, guys. This is the Australian accent. This is what you're hearing. Is a really big deal to me, and I find that to be one of the best things. But to get to work on a show that is predominantly Australian and that is doing so well is wonderful. The boys have created this incredible show with Australian animators, Australian sound technicians. It's such a huge deal, and I'm thrilled to have been a part of that.
Yeah, I can firmly agree with a lot of what you just said, because I myself am actually part of this big Metarunner fan project called Analyst, a Metarunner story. You might have heard about it before because you might have met someone named TDW8021 at Equation Con or something.
I haven't met anyone, no, but
Oh.
I've seen TDW has popped up. I do have Discord, but I do it to play like one little video game I play on my phone.
Oh.
So I have seen that name pop up. So there you go. I
Yeah.
do know that name.
Yeah, he's kind of the head honcho in like this big Metarunner fan project that I'm happy to be a part of, and it's like this big worldwide collaboration, like just like Metarunner. So there's like artists, composers, voice actors, and so on and so
Wow.
forth. It's just a freaking amazing project to be a part of, and I'm glad to be one of their artists and amateur voice actors.
Oh, that's awesome. I actually don't know about this. So yeah, send me some details. I don't know what this is.
Yeah, very gladly, very gladly. In fact, I was actually gonna send you some contact info for TDW because, I owe him quite a bit because he actually scored me in my interviews with Anthony and Jason, the voice actors who play Lamar and
Yes,
Marco.
yes.
So I owe him. I feel like I owe him this. So he's a
Please
awesome.
do, yeah.
Yeah, awesome guy. But what made you want to be a voice actress?
One thing I loved about it was that the immediacy of it. And so one thing that I didn't like about stage acting, and as I had a bigger family and everything, I just found that the actual amount of work that would go into it was just way too demanding for what I needed to do in what I wanted from my life. And I have other things, I have other projects. I'm someone who likes to do about 20 things at once, and it's not all acting. I have teaching, I have my studio, I have all these things that I do. And so I found that stage acting was just way too demanding for that. I can't do eight shows a week. It's just impossible. And so I still love doing voices. I still love doing all this. And that's why I kind of went this direction. I just found that the immediacy of the project, I can do 3 takes on this and that's my job done. And then I send it off to the magical wizards over at animation, and they can make it look and sound amazing. So that's kind of the reason why I went that direction in this stage of my career, and this show has really inspired me to keep going with that because I just love it so much. I've got my studio built now, so it's ready to go, so I can do it all at home, and so that's kind of why.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. My final question for you. Sorry if this was like shorter than you expected. I don't have too many questions. Yeah. So my final question for you is, how did you hear about Metarunner in the first place?
Yeah, so I, like I said, I did a course, a voice course with a group called Voice Booth in Sydney, and they occasionally will put up auditions for things. And I actually did another job for them in animation where it was like one of those Korean English training jobs, So I had to do like the really, we're going over here. What do you mean? Oh my, let's look like really clear Australian, like American English kind of voice. And so they had done that job with them, and they put up this job, and they put up just the picture, the original drawing of Tari and Theo, I think were the 2 originals. And I just thought that looked so cool, and I thought gaming, animation, all the things that I love, sci-fi, sounds fantastic. I tried it in an American voice, I tried it in an English, Australian voice, and I didn't know where. I've got a Theo audition somewhere as well where I did it in American and an Australian. Oi, what are you talking about? That kind of character, which would have been a completely different story. And so that's actually how I saw the auditions, and I went along, I sent that along, and the boys obviously liked what I did. There's a bit of back and forthing trying to get everything sorted because I didn't know, you go to something online, you sort of go, I don't know what it's going to be, I don't understand this, but when I finally met them, I was like, this is just perfect. I love this so much. I'm so glad to have done this role. So thank God I saw that post and did it.
Yeah, Kevin and Luke are really making some pretty amazing stuff. I mean, obviously, as of yesterday, as of recording this, Sunset Paradise concluded, and I loved it. As a longtime SMG4 fan, I'm like, supporting Meggy all the way through, so clearly the boys are doing really good with Glitch Productions, and I can't wait for Season 3 of Metarunner.
Look, we want this to happen. We want Season 3 to happen, so I'm hoping that people will, jump on the bandwagon and make it happen, buy merch and subscribe and do all the things that makes Season 3. Because there's plenty of story left to tell, and I want to be part of that.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. But anyways, that's all the questions I have for you tonight, Miss Notley-Smith. So thank you again so much for being here.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It was lovely to talk to you.